to approve invoices that we need to have approved and submitted by the end of 2025. And things, mostly the monitoring invoices, and then Chris may have some other discussion. So I'm going to start with the monitoring invoices. I know that we haven't had time to do the full discussion of the monitoring reports. And just in case anyone's interested, we have most, but not all of the reports, but for the ones that we have not reviewed yet, we have not formally accepted the reports. But the work has been done, the reports have been generated, the invoices are present in front of us. Does anyone have any comments or concerns about approving these invoices at this time? And we are still missing Silverstein Gilmore, but I think that we have all the other ones.
The only question I have, and I know you mentioned in your email, was that to move these up sooner in the season.
Yes,
Because some of
to
the,
reference, we should have it done really before the snow.
yeah,
Yeah.
were these just pushed, just trying to coordinate between parties?
I think that we needed to be more forceful speaking to our contractor about getting, I mean, we didn't say specifically they need to be done by a certain time.
Gotcha.
And I think next year we will say they should be done by, I would say, the end of October.
Okay.
This person was doing them for the first time for us this year. If I understood correctly, we used to have somebody else.
So I think this was the first time she did all of them. Last year, she did some of them.
Okay.
So she is a little bit in transition, so we're working on this relationship. And I think that's just something I learned this time around.
Yeah, because I read all the reports and they all seemed fine, except for that question about the photo. Was that really the right location?
Yeah.
Other than that, I think the reports were as expected and of the standard format, so.
So basically,
We'll go through those in detail
yes,
at next regular.
because some of them we may have action, we may have discussion, but in terms of the deliverable that we paid for.
Yes.
I think we pretty much.
Something you may not know, I was with Ariana on the daily assessment last week.
Oh, nice.
So it was last week, barely.
Yeah, it says on the report who was with her on the different ones.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just want to say why not, it was fine.
Okay. Yeah, but again, there's snow on the ground, so it's a little hard to tell like the state of the fields or anything.
And I would imagine from a seasonality standpoint that there are some things that are probably better, like spring or fall or whatever, but winter probably boundaries are at least a decent time to.
No, because a lot of
No?
them are holes in rocks.
Yeah, yeah, and they're really hard to find them.
And the pins that they talk about are really low.
Yeah.
So if you've got more than a couple inches of snow, unless they've already been flagged, they're going to be hard to find.
Gotcha.
And one
We
thing,
weren't clear on one, but the better thing about this weather is you can walk on the soggy soil,
it's true. So
which
you
a lot
went
of times you
through
can't. So
through the wetlands.
it's have an advantage.
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we approve these invoices to pay.
I guess the only question I had was the one about the expenses, because we are going to be over budget, over the 2025 budget.
If we approve these invoices.
And that's without the last one. So I just want sure everybody's aware of that. I don't think there's anything we could do about it. The work's been done and the rates are higher, but, bring my email,
So we approved a total of 3,500 last year. Is that correct?
yes. So we had approved 3,500 last year and the total, so I think I put it in the email, but I didn't do it here. But so basically the total of the monitoring, easement monitoring reports alone, if you take 250 out of that 2608 and add that, so it's roughly 2,200 and add that to the 3,600. So we're at 3,800 and we're still missing one. I put it in the email, but I didn't print out.
Yeah, so the last one, and you may remember this better than I do, Josh. So the Gilmore one, because of the additional work, there was different discussion around that budget. Do you remember that?
Can't recall it clearly.
Yeah. I would have to, I mean, it's not one of these, but I think that one was not included in this budget.
Okay. I just want to make it sure everybody's aware because then we have to just go back and Sue said it's not a problem to go over budget by a little bit. But we just need to be aware that we also need to probably approve a request to increase our budget proposal for 2026 based on these 2025 numbers.
I just want to, I'm sticking just with the monitor, just to focus on that. So
Right.
the budget was 3,500. So what's RCCD? So 399 for RCCD.
That was just in there. I don't know. That was, I've got it.
I'm sorry, too. So that's not, I'm sorry.
Let me see what it said. Brock.
Birmingham County Conservation. Just, yeah, okay, I'm just running with that. I'm sorry, I was thinking that was paid out and it's not as comments.
That was paid in August.
So we approved 3,500 for monitoring so far. It's been 1,695. So in terms of the monitoring alone, we are still under budget. Is that correct?
Not if we approve the 1223, the 524 and the 611. So on the very bottom, I put the 3 of December 29th approvals plus the 250 2026 dues if we want to approve that for 2025 payment, which is what has been done in the past.
So basically, we're taking that 1,695, we're adding the
Adding-
daily,
Adding 1223, adding 524 and adding 611. So if you take those three and add it to 1695, my estimate was,
I mean, I think, or again, I'm sort of having to go back in my memory here. I think that because she hadn't done the full monitoring the year before, we may have been estimating these expenses. So I'm inclined to go ahead and pay these.
I agree. I just want to make sure that everybody was
I just-
aware.
trying to understand why we estimated a number that was different from what it really was. And I think it's because we were doing that this time of year, a month or two ago in 2024, and we probably had not actually received the estimates at that time. So I think we were estimating. So I'm trying to make sure that I understand in my head why
I think that's.
the difference is why there's that difference.
Yeah, but, and I'm looking at these numbers and saying, okay, if we still have one more coming in, and she told us for next year, we should estimate 4062 for all of them. Now the 399 for RCCD, she's not doing that. That's something else, I gather. I don't know what that was, but that came in under easement monitoring.
I mean, she is Rockham County Conservation District. That's what it
Okay.
is. So I think it's just, yeah.
The fee or something.
And I think I would try and find this in the minutes, but I think that the Gilmore Silverstein easement is either under a different budget. I think it was not in this estimated budget.
Okay.
And I will try and figure out where we said we would pay it from. But it was either under the town budget, because what's happening there is it's more expensive because they're actually resurveying part of it. So it's not just an easement monitoring,
Okay.
so a survey and where that funding is going to come from.
I'm trying to
And
look up the emails, but I remember Forrest talking to the select board.
Yeah.
I think the answer was for us to pay it
I
out.
think the answer might have been that we pay it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that could be. So I think in terms of the easement bills that were sort of under this budget, what we have is what there is. That makes sense. And then there's another bill coming, but I think it's not under this budget.
Right, but that's then another reason to increase the 2026 budget.
We may not be able to do that at this point.
No, Sue said we could.
She said good.
She said we should recommend,
Okay.
if we think that we're going to be slightly over with these, that we should recommend additional numbers because the select board can still approve that in January before it goes through the whole process.
Okay. So then we would need, and I know you put this in the email and I've already forgotten it. So walk me through again how much we would need to increase our budget by.
I didn't do that other than to say at the bottom here, the total with everything we know about right now is going to be 74,8775 for 2025.
Mhm.
Now that includes, some additional expenses. The emails were $100 more expensive than expected. And the recording secretary was $400 more than budgeted.
Yeah.
Because of the meetings and stuff.
Yeah, although if we don't do, and I think we just say that, if there's a question about why we're over budget, that's part of the reason.
Right. Yeah, so,
On the other hand, if we don't do a recording secretary, we would save money in our next year's budget.
but anyway, so it's roughly 7,500 for 2025 expenses versus 7,000 that we put into the budget. So if we think that we will have some additional monitoring or the costs will go up, 3% or whatever, we know the dues fees are going up, but and that 74, that almost 7,500 includes paying the 250, but that 250 then in the 2026 budget would pay the 2027 fee.
Yeah,
So,
it's probably better to try, and given that we're already over, it's probably better to keep it in the budget year that it's assigned to. So when you first said that, should we pay it now?
well, we've been doing this in the past, which is why, because I got the feedback from the secretary for the conservation for NHACC, who said, oh yeah, you guys have always paid it at the end of the previous year.
Yeah.
So they've always sent it to us, and it's only because the town has changed their budgeting cycle and the conservation commissions have changed the NHACC has changed their budgeting that it looks a little wonky, but that's why they set the date for March. Because she said, well, most of the towns are paying it this year. It's like, okay, but.
I just feel like if our budget year is January to January, it's just cleaner to keep it in the budget year that we're dealing with.
Yeah, and I can explain that to her and say, we are not going to do that if that's what we decide, but I just want to make sure everybody's clear on this because several of us are new and haven't been through this process before. And I just wanted to make sure that we are going to be over budget. No matter what we decide, we are going to be over budget in 2025. But like you said, we know what some of the reasons are. And then the request from Sue is that if we are going to be over budget for 2025, and we think those are going to carry into 2026, then we should request additional money for 2026.
And the places in which we might be over, the places in which we went over were recording secretary. Significantly.
Email fees, which you can see it's already for 2025 higher than it was for we budgeted for 2026. So that isn't one that should go up. And then easement monitoring, maybe we should raise.
So I think what's going to happen, just based on when I was out at the Vernon's on that sidewalk, there is confusion about some of those monuments, and Ariana said that she can GPS them, but it's likely to be a little bit more money, not a ton.
Right.
So maybe we estimate an additional $500 for monitoring. And if we're asked, we say that's because we want to have that surveying made more precise. I don't think any of these other things, I mean, email fees went up partly because we had a change in numbers. On the other hand, it's going to go up if we're going to have another alternate. So yes, maybe let's increase that by,
I would say, another 100.
yeah.
And then if we don't spend the money on the recording secretary or we spend less, then we're okay.
Yeah. And I think I want you all to look at, what the chat GPT did, and it kind of looked okay to me, but there's definitely some stuff like you can't tell who's talking. So there's definitely going to have to be a little bit of handwork to make it cleaner, but it's not like typing there and doing all the exhaustive notes.
In my experience with ChatGPT is that it doesn't always capture the essence. It kind of gives you a summary, but it doesn't really give you the essence or the decision.
Right, but we weren't really getting that from Heather either, because we were getting basically a transcript. So that's sort of what's made me feel like maybe we just take the transcript and we summarize it. But I want you guys to take a look at it and.
Okay.
So let's leave it, in other words, I'm saying, let's leave the recording secretary
Right.
in, but if we get pushback, that's a place we might save money. So we're upping. So I want to go back to my original motion, which is just, I want to make a motion that we approve payment on the invoices for monitoring as submitted to date.
My second.
All right, any discussion on that? All right, all in favor? Okay. And then let's talk about adding 500 to easement monitoring to cover the cost of making the current survey a little more precise. And then $100 to email fees. I mean, if you don't mind, could you send an email to Sue and just ask her how much per person email fees are?
Okay.
Because basically what we need are eight people times a year.
It was $724. No, sorry, $714 in email.
For
No, that was what was approved. The 816 is what we have been charged so far this year.
yeah, but there's a little complication, like some people left, and I think there may have been some duplication of emails for a while. But there are probably times.
She said they were higher for every organization.
Yeah,
So I don't know that it is just the numbers of people. I think it was just they didn't get a good estimate from the provider.
I would say if you don't mind, just ask her, and then 8 people times a year.
And is that inclusive of like any file storage
Like,
fees?
I don't think you get any file storage evidence. I've asked about that so far. Nobody's been able to definitively say that we do. So we're on Box or Google. I'm gonna make a motion on that just because it's budget. So I would like to make a motion that we amend the budget to increase both the monitoring and the email fees.
Second.
All right, any comment on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Anything else to come before this meeting? Nope. Okay, I will close the meeting at 7:18. Okay. You can turn it off. Thank you so much for coming out in the foul with it, just getting it done.
And just for awareness, we can pay the 250 in January